Chill English Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chill English Podcast, the place where we make learning English relaxing, fun, and super useful. My name is Alex.
And I'm Chloe. It's so good to be with you all again. We're feeling very intellectual today, aren't we, Alex?
That's one way to put it. Today, we're diving into a topic that almost everyone experiences at some point: studying, research, and spending time at the library.
Ah, the library. The smell of old books, the quiet whispers, and the stress of deadlines. For many of our listeners, whether they're in university, high school, or just learning on their own, using a library or doing research in English can feel a little intimidating.
Exactly. You're surrounded by academic language, and you might not know the right phrases to ask for help or to talk about your work. But that's exactly why we're here. The goal of today's episode is to give you the essential, practical English phrases you need to navigate the world of studying and research with confidence.
We're not going to give you a huge, boring list of 100 words. Instead, we're focusing on 6 core phrases, the most important ones you'll actually use. We'll break them down, give you examples, and make sure you remember them.
That's the plan. By the end of this episode, you'll feel much more comfortable talking about your study process in English. So, grab your notebook or just lean back and relax. Let's get started.
Okay, Alex, so picture this. Exams are just around the corner, a big project is due, and that feeling of panic is starting to set in. For many of our listeners, whether they're in university, high school, or just learning on their own, using a library or doing research in English can feel a little intimidating.
Exactly. You're surrounded by academic language, and you might not know the right phrases to ask for help or to talk about your work. But that's exactly why we're here. The goal of today's episode is to give you the essential, practical English phrases you need to navigate the world of studying and research with confidence.
We're not going to give you a huge, boring list of 100 words. Instead, we're focusing on 6 core phrases, the most important ones you'll actually use. We'll break them down, give you examples, and make sure you remember them.
That's the plan. By the end of this episode, you'll feel much more comfortable talking about your study process in English. So, grab your notebook or just lean back and relax. Let's get started.
Okay, Alex, so picture this. Exams are just around the corner, a big project is due, and that feeling of panic is starting to set in. For many students everywhere, it's that time of year again. I guess it's officially time for them to hit the books.
That's the perfect phrase to start with, Chloe. It's exactly that time. When deadlines are approaching, you have no choice but to hit the books.
Hold on, Alex. To hit the books? That sounds a little violent. Like you're supposed to physically punch your textbooks. What does that mean exactly?
I can see why you'd think that. But no, please don't punch your books. To hit the books is a very common idiom that simply means to begin studying, usually in a very serious and focused way. The hit part just suggests intensity.
Ah, so it's not aggressive, it's just serious. Can you give me an example?
Of course. Imagine your friend invites you to a party on a Tuesday night. You could say, "I'd love to come, but I have a huge exam on Friday, so I really need to hit the books tonight." It means you're dedicating your evening to studying hard.
I see. So it's a fun, informal way to say, I need to study a lot. I could say, this weekend is going to be quiet for me. I'm just going to stay home and hit the books for my history final.
That's a perfect use of the phrase. You've got it.
Great. So once you've decided to hit the books, the most logical place to go is the library. What's the first thing you do there? You need to get some materials, right?
Exactly. You find the books you need for your research, you take them to the front desk, and you officially borrow them. The phrase for this is to check out a book.
Okay, to check out a book. This one sounds a bit more straightforward, but I have a question. In other situations, check out can mean to look at something interesting, like check out that cool car. Is it the same here?
That's a great question, Chloe, because it shows how context is so important in English. In the context of a library, to check out specifically means to go through the official process of borrowing an item. You use your library card, the librarian scans the book, and the system records that you have it.
So it's the formal action of borrowing. For example, I found 3 great books on marine biology. I'm going to the front desk to check them out now.
Precisely. And the opposite action, when you return the book, is to return a book or to check a book in. So the librarian might ask you, are you here to check out or check in books today?
Got it. So let's say I've decided to hit the books. I've gone to the library and I've checked out 5 huge books for my research paper on, I don't know, the history of music. The topic is massive. I feel overwhelmed. What should I do?
That's a very common problem. When your topic is too broad, you need to narrow it down.
Hold on a sec. To narrow down your topic, I know narrow is the opposite of wide. So does this mean you're making your topic smaller? Can you break that down for us?
You're exactly on the right track. To narrow down means to reduce the number of possibilities or to make something more specific. Think of it like a funnel. At the top, it's very wide, and at the bottom, it's very narrow. You start with a big general idea, and you make it more focused.
Can you give me a clear example?
Sure. Let's use your history of music topic. It's huge. You could be talking about anything from ancient drums to modern-day pop music. So you decide to narrow it down. First, you might narrow it down to the history of American music. That's still pretty big. So you narrow it down again to the history of jazz music in America. And maybe even one more time to the influence of Louis Armstrong on New Orleans jazz in the 1920s. See, you've made it specific and manageable.
Wow, that's a fantastic explanation. So it's about making your research focus so you don't get lost. It seems like a crucial skill for anyone who has to hit the books for a big essay. You have to be able to narrow down your ideas.
You've absolutely nailed it. But even when you do that, something else often happens, especially with the internet.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this. You're researching your narrow topic, you click on one interesting link, which leads to another, then you watch a related video, and suddenly it's 2 hours later, and you're reading about the history of potatoes in Ireland.
Exactly. There's a wonderful imaginative phrase for that experience. It's called going down the rabbit hole.
Going down the rabbit hole. I love that. It's from Alice in Wonderland, right? Where she follows the rabbit down a hole into a strange new world. What does it mean in a research context?
It means almost the same thing. To go down the rabbit hole means to get so absorbed in reading or learning about a topic that you lose track of time and your original goal. You start with one thing, and a series of curiosities leads you to a completely different, often unrelated place.
So it's not always a good thing for studying, is it?
It can be fun, but if you have a deadline, it's a major distraction. For example, I was supposed to be researching renewable energy, but I went down a rabbit hole reading about the personal lives of famous inventors and didn't write a single word for my essay.
That is so relatable. I feel like I do that all the time. You try to narrow down your search, but the internet makes it so easy to go down the rabbit hole instead. It's a real danger when you're supposed to be hitting the books.
It is. But let's be optimistic. Let's say you've avoided the rabbit hole, you've found some really good focused academic articles, but the language is complex. The ideas are difficult. It takes a lot of effort just to understand what the author is trying to say.
Oh, that's the hardest part for me. Sometimes I read a paragraph 3 or 4 times and I still don't understand it.
The perfect phrase for that struggle is, it takes time to get your head around a concept.
Ooh, I like the sound of that one. To get your head around something. It's very visual, like you're trying to physically wrap your brain around a big, complicated idea. Can you explain it more?
That's a perfect way to describe it. To get your head around something means to finally understand a complex or difficult idea after a period of effort. It's not for simple facts, but for big concepts that require real mental work. For example, quantum physics is such a difficult subject. It took me a whole semester to get my head around the basic principles.
That makes so much sense. So, yesterday, when I was reading a challenging article for our podcast research, I could say, the author's theory was so abstract, I had to read the chapter twice to get my head around it.
That's a perfect example. It beautifully describes that moment of breakthrough when confusion finally turns into understanding. It's a great feeling when you finally get your head around a tough topic.
It really is. Okay, so we've worked hard, we've hit the books, we've checked out our materials, narrowed down our topic, avoided going down the rabbit hole, and we finally got our head around the main concepts. We've written our essay, we're finished, right? Phew.
Almost. There is one final, incredibly important step that every good student must do. You have to give credit to the authors whose ideas you used. In other words, you have to cite your sources.
Ah, yes, to cite your sources. We hear this phrase from our teachers all the time, from high school to university. But for some of our listeners, the meaning might not be 100% clear. What does it really mean?
To cite your sources means to formally acknowledge where you got your information. This involves creating a list, often called a bibliography or a works cited page, that gives the full details of the books, articles, or websites you used.
And why is it so important?
It's important for two main reasons. First, it's about honesty. It's how you show respect for the original authors and avoid plagiarism, which is a very serious academic offense. Second, it shows your teacher that you've done proper research. It proves that your work is supported by evidence. So a teacher might write on your paper, "This is a good argument, but you need to cite your sources to support your claims."
That's a great way of putting it. So it's like showing your work in math. You're showing the reader the path you took to get to your conclusions. It's a fundamental part of good academic work. You must always remember to cite your sources.
Always. It's the final step to completing your research journey properly. All right, that was a fantastic discussion. We've covered 6 really essential phrases for studying and research.
I feel so much more prepared for my next study session. Let's do a quick recap of the phrases for everyone listening.
Excellent idea. You start.
Okay, number 1 was to hit the books. That means to start studying, usually very seriously.
Number 2, to check out a book. This is the formal action of borrowing a book from a library.
Number 3 was to narrow down your topic. This means to make a broad subject more specific and focused.
Number 4, to go down the rabbit hole. That's when you get distracted while researching and end up somewhere totally different.
Number 5, one of my favorites, to get your head around something. This means to finally understand a difficult or complex idea.
And finally, number 6, to cite your sources, which means to give credit to the original authors of the information you used in your work.
Perfect. I feel like I have them locked in my brain now.
Great. And now for our favorite part of the show, to make sure they really stick, the practice scenario. It's a mini role play where we use all the phrases in a natural conversation.
I love this part. Who are we today?
How about you be a friendly university librarian, and I'll be a first-year student who is feeling a bit stressed and overwhelmed?
I can definitely do that. I'll be the kindest librarian ever. Ready when you are.
Excellent. And scene. That was great, Chloe. You make a wonderful librarian.
Why, thank you, Alex. It was fun to put all those phrases together in one conversation. It really shows how they can be used in a real-life situation.
It really does. And we hope that all of you listening found it just as helpful. Learning these key phrases can make a big difference in your confidence when studying in English.
Absolutely. They can help you feel less stressed and more in control.
Now, we have a challenge for you, our amazing listeners. It's your turn to practice. We want you to use what you've learned today.
That's right. Our question for you this week is, what subject do you need to hit the books for right now? And which of these new phrases do you think will be the most useful for you?
Try to use one of the phrases from today's episode in your answer. You can write your responses in the comment section wherever you're listening to this podcast. We read every single one, and we love seeing you practice.
We really do. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please consider following or subscribing to Chill English Podcast on your favorite platform. It helps us a lot and ensures you won't miss our next episode.
Thank you all so much for spending some of your time with us today. Until next time, keep learning and keep it chill.